Diana.
Okay, so I'm going to go off. I'm going to bring up that screen and we're good. Let me do introductions first while we're there, right?
Yeah, I'll take the first two slides in the introductions. Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. It's Karen Mazzola from your Education Commission. This is a collaboration today with the Advocacy Commission between Education and Advocacy. And I'll make some actual good introductions when we get to the right slide, but we welcome you and we ask our president to bring us greetings.
Thank you, Karen. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? We have a small crowd, so I can ask you, how are you all?
Great.
Good. Great.
Good.
Thank
I
you.
see
How are you?
smiles and nods. I'm hanging in there. So I'm really glad to
Great.
see all of you here this evening. I like when we do these mashups. When commissions come together to do work, that means that we're collaborating. That means that we're interested in the whole child, not just the education part, not just the health part, not just the advocacy part, not just the artistic part under our reflections, but rather the whole child. So tonight is just that. It is a partnership between our Education Commission and our Advocacy Commission. And I have no doubt that the material that they will share with you will be absolutely wonderful. I'd like to take a moment for those of you who may not know one another, although I recognize everyone almost, to introduce our executive committee, members of our board of directors, and our staff that are on. So you've met Karen Mazzola. She is the Vice President for Educational Development. I'll call you in the order that I see you. Katie Murphy is the chair of our Resolutions Committee.
Hello.
Felita Tutt is the chair of our Education Committee.
Good evening.
Melanie Gamble is our Media and Marketing Chair.
Hi, everybody.
Kay Hawkins is our Central Region Representative.
Hi, everyone.
Holly
Hello.
DeLucia is our Resource Development Chair.
Good evening.
Hi,
Kelly
Polly.
Crumbaker. Kelly Crumbaker is the County Council President of Orange County, the home of Florida PTA State Office.
Hi there.
Hello.
And let me see if I got everybody. Yes, and we actually have Diana with us from our DEIJ committee. So I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Karen. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you. Katie, you can start sharing the slide, but I would like, we have three non-board members. Can you guys introduce yourself if you are able to unmute? I have Natasha George. And I understand you may not be able to. And Nandar.
Let me unmute myself. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, I'm the VP of Advocacy at the Cross Value. So hoping that I'm able to learn something from this meeting and share with the team.
And you're from that's
Wonderful.
Pinellas County, right?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Cross Value.
My home county.
Okay.
And then I lost the last one when we switched over the last name. Anybody else see?
Yeah, it just disappeared.
Abby Sanchez, if you could introduce,
Abby's-
right?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to.
Mhm.
Maggie.
I was just,
Stewart.
let me double check and make sure. I have 13 people on the call. And so you have Maggie,
Stewart.
Natasha, I think Diana, everybody else I think has already been introduced. All right.
No, Maggie,
Good evening, everyone. I'm Abby Sanchez, the chair of the Seminole
introduce
County.
you, Abby.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You do it. You do it. Go, Karen.
Okay,
Karen, you got it.
you. On our
All
next
right,
slide,
please.
we tell who everybody is, you know. And so we want to say welcome to Abby Sanchez. She is a longtime friend and former PTA president at a school in Seminole County. She's a former teacher, you know, once a teacher, always a teacher. We could go to the next slide, Katie. Abby has agreed on behalf of the Education Commission to come in and help us today navigate school board policy. And albeit, please understand that every school district is a little bit different. Of course, your composition is a little bit different. But I'm also proud to say that Abby is in her second year of being the vice chair of our scholarship committee. She's done a bunch of work with her chair and doing a wonderful event last year at the convention, as well as, grading and seeing who's going to get those scholarship awards from us. So we thank you, Abby Sanchez. And second, we
Thank
have
you,
another
and-
long time, yes, Seminole County retired teacher and PTA advocate for many years, Katie Murphy. Katie has been serving on the Seminole County Council for several years. And this past term, she was the vice chair of our resolutions committee for Florida PTA. She was also previously on the legislation committee. And now she has advanced to be the chair of the resolutions committee. So we love that she brings that aspect to Florida PTA. Thank you both for collaborating with me and my team to prepare this webinar tonight. And I hand it off to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. So resolutions and working with your school board, it's important, first of all, to identify what is it we want to do with our school board. There's got to be a concern that we're coming forward with and looking at it and saying, is it a local, a state, or a national issue? We're going to kind of focus today on the local issues with our school board. And the first place you're going to start is to see if there's a resolution or a position statement for that. In your in the Florida PTA and in National PTA, you can look and see what the resolutions and the position statements are that are there. If we have one, we speak to that using that. If we don't have one, then we need to go put one together so that we can have a position statement that can be voted on at the county level, at the local school level, or we can also do it at the state and national level. So the first one I was ever familiar with, I was on the SAC at our school, the School Advisory Council, and we had a brand new school, and we were on a busy road, had to turn off of the road to get into the school parking lots, and there was no stoplight. So in the morning, the traffic was backed up forever. And in the afternoons, the traffic was backed up forever trying to get in and out. So we went outside and looked, we watched a couple times, and we said, we need a stoplight. So the first thing we did was go to the school board and talk to them and say, hey, we need a stoplight in here. Who else do we talk to? So we ended up at the Department of Transportation. We ended up with the police department and with the school board. And I think there were a few others involved. And we put together a plan. What can we do right this minute, which was to get more crossing guards and to get a traffic control from the police department there during those few minutes in the morning and the afternoon that people should be able to get out in and out in a few minutes, and it was taking over an hour. So we got that resolved, and then Department of Transportation started working on a traffic light, and within a very short period of time, people could get in and out of the school. So we looked at the concern, we looked to see who was involved in it, and we went on from there to build our platform. Okay, so now it's not moving. Okay, so I've lost control of the screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is kind of a flow chart of ways that you go about it. You look at your opportunity to address what's going on. You come up with a statement about what you want and a call to action. Outline it with a formal statement. Take that in the form of a motion, submit it in writing, adopt it, and build a resolution from there. That's a real simplified, but the process is identify what you've got, figure out what you want to say about it, reach out to some other people for it, and then move forward with a statement. It's not that easy at the state level, but we'll get to that. So lots of research, making sure that there's a resolution or a position statement from Florida PTA. Is there or is there not from Florida PTA or National PTA? And when I go to address a concern at the school board meetings, especially if I've identified myself ahead of time as being with PTA, I've turned in the paper where they recognize me as representing PTA. I don't speak to anything without using language from our resolution and our position statement. And I know Abby's heard me repeatedly say, according to the Florida PTA resolution, according to the national position statement, because if I'm up there talking and representing PTA, I need to make sure that they know it's my voice that's representing the PTA. It's not my voice representing me. And that I've used the language from that. I've spoken to several issues at our PTA meeting over the last few years, and each time I've gone back and pulled the language from the position statement, because it's not our job to misrepresent our organization ever. That's part of our fiduciary responsibility. So if there is a position statement, we use that. If there's not, you can address it as a person, as your personal opinion, and go up and address things that are going on. Just don't represent yourself as PTA until they've come together and voted on a resolution. So if there's not a concern, or if there's not a position statement, then you write one. And Seminole County just did that last year. We had a teacher who had a child choke in the classroom on a bottle cap, actually during the state testing. And she went back and was able to pull back her training on choking from 30 years ago. And then when she started talking, and the kid is fine, she was able to resolve the issue. The kid is just fine. But she went around and asked the other teachers, would you know what to do? And they said, no, because training for first aid beyond stop the bleed was not a part of what was in the curriculum for teachers. So then she got together with the resolutions committee at the state convention when she said, oh, resolutions, that's a good idea. So got together with them, and then we got together at the county level, and we formed a small committee, and we went to our student support services director and had a nice talk about this is what we're doing, what we want to do, and why. What is being done right now? Is there anything that's being done that actually takes care of this, or is there something new? And what problems do you see with putting this in? So we did that research so that we weren't stepping on toes, but we were stepping up to the issue. And that's a fine line. Sometimes you do step on toes, but it's a fine line to step up and say, this is really important, and this is why it's important, which goes into why and how we write the resolutions. The other thing is to look and see if this exists in other areas. Do other counties have this? Do other states have this? Part of the resolution that we wrote on the safety training was also safety devices. And what we found out recently is that while we asked to have more Narcan available and more safety devices available within the schools, there are places in the Northeast where they actually have Narcan in all the rooms. They're making sure they're putting them in there, and they're following through with something that we had talked about and decided we really wanted to do, was put Narcan in the AEDs so that it's available. If somebody is quit breathing and their heart has stopped, you're going to reach for an AED if it's there. And if the Narcan's right there, it doesn't ever hurt to use it. So we looked to see what was there, what was out there for research, and how do we go about that. Once you've come up with a problem, you've done a little bit of research, you put together your team, then it's coming up with a really concise statement of exactly what it is you want to have happen. What is it that you really want to have happen through it? And your committee and your team works from there. The Florida PTA Resolutions Committee is there for help on this process, where you can say, this is what I want to do. How do I get started? Where do I go? There is a whole procedure in I believe it's in the kit of materials on how to put together a resolution. And it gives you ideas on how to get started and how to go with that. But it's quite a process for getting that going. And it does take time. It takes a dedication to it. At the county level, it's a little bit easier, but when you get to the state and the national level, it takes a lot of research and a lot of time and commitment to get it done. But if it's something you're serious about, it's important to do that. Okay, it's locked me again. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is what's in the kit of materials, I believe, on how a resolution on writing resolutions. And you may have heard these at different places, whereas, and then resolved. The whereases are telling you why it is we're doing this. What is the reason for this? And the resolves are telling you what we want to have happened. So that's what that comes down to. And let me see. I don't know if I can get back there. Abby, is there anything you want to say there while I see if I can get real quickly to another page I had pulled up?
So when you were just talking about the what and the whys and how putting a resolution together, how critical it is that, and as she's working on the PowerPoint, that we collaborate and everybody listens and learns and leads from each other. As I'm admitting more people, wait a second, sorry. We're
I did it.
now up to number 18, I think, are now in the room. But how critical it is for if you have a concern or you have an area that you do the research, like Katie was saying, and find out if what other counties are doing. And if you don't have to, don't recreate the wheel. Beg, borrow, and share ideas from other counties because that just makes you stronger and better. As it and it saves you a lot of time. Go ahead.
Okay, so are you seeing my life-saving page now? Okay, because I'm never sure who can see what. Okay, so this is the one we did on life-saving training and devices. And we have our whereases, which is why we should be doing this. The one in the middle, over 20% of the students in Florida report being in a fight, and therefore they're during the school year, and there were almost 9,000 fighting incidents reported, which is we had to have a resolution for each of the, or a whereas for each of the things we talked about. And this was on the devices, on having the stop the bleed materials available. Abby and I were just talking about this, having the stop the bleed materials available where the teachers can get to them if there's an emergency. If you're in a lockdown and the materials are locked in the nurse's office and the nurse is off taking care of something else, you can't get to the materials. So having them available and where they belong. Whereas we recognize the school employee is often the only adult present with a group of children during the day, and the immediate attention from bystanders is critical. So, and then we get to the therefore be it resolved, and we had our 3 resolves in there. Then for each of them, you have a rationale statement, and your rationale is why we're doing what we're doing. What is the rationale for what you're doing? This is the one that we passed last year at the county and then at the state level. And then it's like writing a term paper or a dissertation. You've got your sources. Each of the whereases has to have 3 sources minimum that are current within the last 4 years. If there's any chance it'll go on to national, because there's by the time it gets there, your 5 years will have expired and you have to do new research. So within the last 4 years, we did get national to agree that it was okay that if we could use a few, not entirely, but we could use some sources from out of the United States, because there are other countries doing wonderful research on this. And we were like, oh, we can't use it because it's from another country. People choke in the same way everywhere. So there's our whereases. And you can tell we did a lot of research. Leanne and I probably spent 80 hours minimum doing this research and pulling up, reading through articles. We got really, really versed on who's being trained in first aid everywhere as we went through this. So this is what a resolution looks like when it's put together: the whereases, the resolves, the rationale, and then the sources for each of the whereases.
And having that why, like Katie was saying, is so critical, along with the sources and what you're getting from, especially like when she was talking about stop the bleed, and making sure that the classrooms are equipped with the materials or necessities so we can be proactive rather than reactive and have things in place. Same thing with the Narcan. We were talking about this earlier. Something I had brought up at open board discussion is the fact that I want a Narcan in all of our buildings, not just on our school resource officers, as it's critical for them. If they're not on, let's say they're on the opposite side of campus and we need to, a counselor or administrator or teacher has to give somebody Narcan, they don't have that time to wait for the paramedics to arrive, or they may not have time to find that school resource officer or whatever your district may have. it's extremely critical that we have that availability. And there's grants out there that you can get this Narcan for free. And also, if you have a controlled substance in your own home, and anybody in your family may take uh, Adderall or pain medication or anything that's a controlled substance, even gabapentin, Lyrica, you can also get it for free from your pharmacist. Just so for anybody else wants to know that for your private houses as well.
And I will jump on that bandwagon also. One of the things I've been proposing, and I mention it to any place I walk into that I see an AED, is you can get the Narcan for free, and if you've got it right there in your AED container, when you pull it, you can pull them both together, and you've got it. So making that more common for people to have. Just a side note: do not keep it in your car in Florida during the summer. It needs to be a little bit cooler than that. So okay. So let me move this so I can see. So once you've got a resolution passed, gather your allies. Abby and I are both excellent at reaching out and talking to everybody we see about anything that we feel passionate about. So everybody that I know knows that we have this resolution in Seminole County. And then I've reached out to organizations that are similar. I reached out to the fire department. We reached out to the police. We reached out to the League of Women Voters. We reached out to the Girl Scouts. Anybody you think who might have something to do with being able to help with this, because it doesn't have to be just PTA. We're about our families and our community. And the more we can build bridges and make those bridges strong between organizations, the stronger we're going to be as a group. And then come up with an action plan. We can talk and talk and talk, but also coming up with a plan. So what are we going to do to make sure that this gets out even more? Maybe we have a family safety day. Maybe we have a gathering for, and I know I'm using the one example all the way through, but what is our action plan to make this happen? How can we move forward? Are we going to have a whole group of people come in t-shirts and sit at the school board and everybody get up and talk about it? But don't keep Abby there too late at night. And
That's fine.
and then our advocacy. Is this something that needs to go on to the legislature? Is this something that we need to take on to our county commissions or to our city commissions? But where and how are we going to advocate for it and make that difference? Reaching out to the teachers union. So that is where that next plan, once you've got a resolution, where do you go with it and what do you do? And again, there's a list of places that you might want to consider reaching out for. Hopefully all those are ones that you know. And hopefully as an advocate in your county and in your area, you know who your school board people are. You know who the people on your board of education are. You know the county and city commissioners, or at least somebody in your unit does, and your state and your U.S. representatives, and know that you can reach out to them, knowing that written letters are wonderful because they don't get that many of them, and reaching out and making that contact, not waiting until they're actually already dealing with the bills, but reaching out to them when they're in their home offices and when there's a good chance to make a contact with them.
It's extremely important. And I think this seems to be an issue with a lot of people. They are afraid to reach across the aisle if the person is a different political affiliation than they are. That shouldn't matter at all. So please, I say this at every board meeting. It's extremely critical for everybody to voice their concerns when they see something, say something, same kind of mentality. And for us to reach out as soon as possible, like Katie said, when they are at their home offices, when they're not super busy. I tend not to go to legislative days because I go when I know I'm not just going to be a number there. I'm going to have some quality time with them. I might schedule lunch. And we may see things totally different. But I always follow the 3 L's. You listen, learn, and lead. And by leading by example, by listening to each other, even if your opinions are different, but being respectful, making sure it's related, and reasonable solutions so we can all pull this together. And that is critical when you are meeting with your legislators and having coffee with them. And actually inviting a group of other people with you to that meeting. So you can share your platform and your ideas with them.
And remember, as PTA leaders, you can plan your meetings around having a speaker. You can have them come and speak and you, or have them come for a listening session, either way.
Yes, and that's also goes for, I was the chair of the Central Florida School Board Coalition. So we represent 14 districts. I'm no longer chair. We moved, now Orange County is, when we, excuse me, rotated. But I started as chair 2 years ago, having Danielle Thomas, Dr. Danielle Thomas from the Florida School Board Association to be on every single call of our coalition meeting. And those meetings are open to the public and are shared. So they're on the first Monday of every month. And she goes over all the legislative updates. So you may want to have somebody, even if you're not in our Central Florida district, come in on the meeting, or PTA liaison, or anybody, so you can hear what the updates are for our educational goals are. And she shares what is going on and what we need to do in order to get bills passed or where they're stalled and so on and so forth.
So focusing on our school board, attend the meetings. It amazes me how many people I've never been to a PTA meeting, and over I've invited somebody and said, hey, bring your kid and come to the school board meeting. You don't have to stay for the whole thing, depending on how long and crazy a meeting it's going to be, but come and see what goes on. And it's amazing when once they come, they'll go, oh my goodness, this was so much fun, let me come back again. So invite people to meetings, maybe make it a XYZ PTA is going to come to the meeting this week, and see what goes on there and get to know the people on the school board. I won't say it makes it any easier. What?
Are school board meetings sometimes simulcast?
Absolutely.
Or
In Seminole County, they are.
And
And
how
they're
would
also
one find that out?
in
And
our
like
county.
with the people.
Go ahead, Abby.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Oh, in our county, you go to the school board page, or the school district's page. You go to the page for the school board, and there's a thing that says view meetings. But it's not always that easy to find, and ours wasn't either, but it is now. And they're also,
and we're trying to work out some kinks.
yeah. And you can also go back and see ones that have been recorded.
Yes. And that's always really great because you can watch them at any given time, just like this, and, see what's happened, and also see what comments that people have, because we have a YouTube channel that we post all of our meetings to, and they're archived. So you can go back 10 years and see some meetings, depending upon when we first started it. We also have open board discussions. Those are recorded, but those are not, they're only audio recorded, not only audio. So you could hear what's happening and what kind of items that we are bringing to the floor. So it's really important. But when Katie was talking about PTA, and me being PTA president at Lake Brantley for 7 years, yes, I know nobody wanted it. So yes, I got that extension. Something I started there was I made sure that every club and organization, because it was PTSA, had a student representative. And I always said, if you bring food, they come. So we would serve food, and we'd have bright futures for parents that needed their kid. If they were bringing their little ones, they would be next in the next room, in the community room. They would have some games and activities. This way I would have so many more people there, and every club and organization would have to then go back to their organization and discuss what we talked about. And honestly, to tell you, with being the vice chair of the scholarship committee, Seminole County has an awful lot of students that have applied for the PTSA scholarship. However, I'm not able to view those. I'm not grading or scoring those because that would be a conflict of interest. So they have somebody else doing those.
Okay, so another thing besides just attending meetings is a call to action. And I've seen that a lot with teachers and Abby and I both were teachers, so we know that well. There were times when we put out a call and said, hey, everybody, it's time to come and step forward. We recently had our speech and language teachers coming to several meetings, but coming as a group and letting it be known that there is a force behind this request, that this isn't just something that one person is saying, but this is a real force behind it. And again, at the bottom, speaking up when you're on behalf of PTA, letting it be known, Katie Murphy on behalf of the Florida PTA. There are times I speak from other organizations. There are times I speak from myself. And I don't know if it's required or not, but I don't turn in the recognition paper for being a PTA representative if I know I'm going to be speaking for myself or for another organization, so that I'm not recognized at that meeting as PTA, even though I've got to, I never speak on anything that PTA would be opposed to, but I also, when I'm doing PTA, I use the PTA words.
And when Karen or anybody or Katie or anybody that's on this call that speak at our school board meetings, they're always so respectful, and that means a lot when it comes across and you're talking to us, not at us. And we tend to listen and write notes, but it's also just because we were talking about this earlier. If you're not able to make the meeting and you want to know that there was a speaker there and you want to get a hold of that person, you can always reach out. These public records, the forms that they turn in are public records, and any email that they send to us are as well. So you can request those papers that they filled out. Sometimes they put their email address on there and their phone number, and you can reach out to them and you can contact them. Usually, if there's an issue, I may say in my board meeting to one of our assistant superintendents, after they have spoken, Assistant Superintendent Jane Doe, can you please speak to XYZ after the meeting? This way we can collaborate, talk to each other, and that they know that we're listening to them, we're hearing them, and we want to try to resolve whatever issues may need to be resolved.
And we have had some dynamic students speaking recently at the meetings on concerns of theirs and building that. The other thing is, when you get to know your school board members, it's a whole bunch easier to talk to them and with them, as opposed to at them. And but it's still a little bit scary, and it's okay. It's okay, but I know all of our school board members well, and but when I get up there, it's like, oh no, what am I going to do now? But it's okay.
You do an excellent job. Are you kidding me? You're fabulous. All you all are. All right. So now, a little bit, you want to introduce this, talk about this first, or what?
You go for it. You want me to start?
Well,
Okay.
yes, please.
Okay. So what we're going to look at for a minute is some of the things that have happened. I'm going to move this so I can see them all. Some of the things that have happened in the last year, and we've had quite a few things that have been major issues, and we've had some school board meetings that were packed. We've had some school board meetings that went on way longer than I've ever seen, and we're getting it down where we go pretty fast now, but we do deal with things that need to get done. So this is a list of some of the things that have happened in the past year, and I'm going to let Abby do just a little bit of talking on any one of them any of them that she wants to.
Okay, so with the banned books, I know every county has read the law in a different way, and every county has decided to do it differently. And I had the opportunity to go to Tiger Bay this past week with our superintendent, and we had four of our superintendents from Central Florida speak about the banned books, and how each county did it was completely different, depended upon how they read the law and what kind of verbiage they felt comfortable with. It's been a tough situation in understanding the procedures of this policy that has been being placed in to, or the law, should I say, has occurred. Because for me, I would have just taken the waiver and said, if you don't want to have your child read a certain book, then you can sign this way, the paper saying, I'm sorry, but my child, or my child can, whatever way you want to do it. This way, we could have freed up some of our media specialists that were bogged down on doing something that I felt was not necessarily a job that they needed to be focused on. And because there's so many excellent books out there now, all of a sudden somebody's backpedaling a little bit, and some of them are starting to be pulled off the list. And now people are starting to realize that some of these books, like Diary of Anne Frank, Kill a Mockingbird, some of these great novels, there are so many great books out there. But I also firmly believe that, you have books that are there for our children. And if somebody needs extra support or help and they don't have that, they may need to reach out to that book for that assistance and understand maybe their body, or understand their, for example, my niece who transitioned, it was very important for her friend to know how to talk to her and to be able to check out a book that would help her understand uh, the communication between the two of them. And that would open up a nice dialogue between the two. So then, like I said, everybody does that differently. We didn't have a say on what books were being banned or anything like that. That was something that they decided on, not us. And I want to make that clear because we had absolutely no say in it. The LGBTQ,
We being the
ahead.
school board, right?
Yes, we being
Okay.
the school board.
Okay.
Yes. That was decided, and we were given a list, and that's how it was handled. So they aligned it along with the curriculum, and had a guideline that was given to them by our assistant superintendents, as well as our curriculum resource teachers, teachers on assignment, as well as anybody that is in our cabinet. That's how they decided on the books and what aligned with the best standards, and what did not align with the standards. So yes, like I said, every county is so different on that. LGBTQ flags. So like everybody's different with this too. For example, you have a flag up in a classroom, and if only one parent complains, it's taken down. Only one. So everybody's different. We didn't decide on that as a school board. Okay, so that was a vote that we didn't decide on as well. But I will honestly tell you, we've been having a lot of issues with that. And I have spoken to quite a few teachers and parents and students. And I have said, just like when we had the yearbook issue, and I'll get to that in a second, we want to hear from you. Come to the meetings. So I asked the teacher to write my phone number up on the whiteboard. And if they wanted to ask a question first before the meeting, they could. Or I gave him the criteria of what they can speak about, how long they could speak. So we give non-agenda items 2 minutes, but if they're speaking in groups about one item, they can speak longer. So every board is totally different. But we want to hear from the kids because I think it's really impactful when it comes from them. And the same thing happened last year for 2 years in a row with the yearbook. For example, one year they had the beautiful spread on the yearbook with the GSA, the Gay Straight Alliance clubs, LGBTQ, the no don't say gay bills, and a lot of yearbooks are totally different than when we were growing up. So the yearbooks have a lot of writing in them, a lot more writing in them than they have pictures these days too. But it's their history, and it's something that they would come back to and look at and reflect on and see all the wonderful things or things that happened that may not have been so wonderful to go back on and share with their families later on. So there was an issue with the page, and my brain is a little foggy. I had a long night. Katie, do you remember when we put the stickers on the yearbooks? Because
Right.
originally it was considered, there were people complaining that the pages should not, they were not appropriate, they were inappropriate for our yearbook. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, Karen, Katie, please, anybody,
It
please
was,
feel free
I
to correct
believe
me if
it,
I'm wrong.
go ahead.
I'm
And
sorry,
it was a high school, one high school.
one
Yeah.
high school.
And wasn't it the day of
And
silence? I think it was,
there was actually other schools that had layouts like it too, but they didn't have any issues.
yeah.
And it goes across the yearbook editor to the administration. It gets approval from the administration before it can even go to print. So there's multiple steps that these have to go to. It even has to go to the assistant superintendent as well of the high school. And this was, yes. So it went through its proper channels for approval. And then it came back and there were parents that complained. And then the students that put this page together, I know I probably shouldn't say this, the editor was one of my children that was in my classroom. I said, you know what, bring your friends, please have them come to the meeting. And I think it's important for us to hear your voices and for you to speak up. And after that meeting, all 5 board members agreed unanimously that we did not need to take these pages out and rip them out. If they wanted to, the issue was they wanted everybody to know that when they had the no gay bill walkout that they posted the pictures of, that was not a school
Sanctioned.
based function,
Wasn't
that
school
we did
sanctioned.
not, right, it was that they did on their own. And so what we did is provided stickers that said that this was not school, this was on their own, not from the Seminole County Public Schools. And everybody, we were able to resolve the issue and put the stickers on all the yearbooks, and they were sent out and everybody seemed happy. Then the following year, this past school year, we had another issue with the yearbook, similar situation. And actually, we didn't really get any complaints, that many complaints, except from the Florida DOE, who called. And when that happened, we were told we had to do certain things. So that's how that situation occurred, where we ended up having to reach out to all the students and ask them if they would, and their parents, if they would like the refund from their yearbook, or if they would like to keep their yearbook, or we could reprint a yearbook. And we spoke about it, the options. Our superintendent met with each and every one of us to discuss it. And, you know, that communication, especially one-on-one, is extremely important with your superintendent. And I highly suggest that if you haven't had a chance as your PTA boards or any of you to reach out to your superintendents and speak to them, get to know them, because it really makes a difference when you get to know each other and learn their strengths, and we build off each other. And, you know, that's what makes it better, is everybody's learning from each other. And we only have one parent request for their money back out of over 2,000 yearbooks that were sold. Only one. So that whole fiasco turned into actually nothing. Most parents felt that, you know, the kids want to share this. This is something that's important to them. This is something that they can relate to. And if anything, they accept each other a lot more so than the adults accept people. And I think we have a lot to learn from our children. And that's why I'm always asking our students to speak, because I think it's important that our youth, that are future leaders of our world, have that opportunity to voice their concerns and share their ideas and help everybody understand what their life is like and what they're going through, because they accept each other a lot more than so many others.
I'm going to
Then
move down to the
then-
nonpartisan, if you
Go
don't mind, because I know that's an amendment that we have coming up this year. And
yes,
And that's something that I don't know PTA stand on it. I think our stand is nonpartisan on it. And I know League of
Yes.
Women Voters stand is nonpartisan on it. But
I can share.
okay, please do. Thank you.
Oh, gosh, well over 20 years, National PTA has had a resolution that we are nonpartisan. And I can't remember what year, because this is not the first time the bill has come up in the last several years. So we know where we stand as a PTA. We believe that school boards should be for all children and not just Democrat, independent, or Republican children. So that has never changed over time. I don't know if you guys know, but I don't know if it was 20 or 25 years ago, school boards were partisan.
I
And
remember that.
candidates in Florida had to declare a party. And so the law changed and now they're trying to bring it back. So PTA says no. We hope to do a big push to make sure people go out and vote no. This is the only amendment on the ballot that PTA has a position on, and it's clearly a no. So spread the word. And now Abby can tell us about it from her perspective.
So when this started a couple years ago, because this has actually been not from this past legislative session, this was from the legislative session of 2022, I believe. Right, yes, from 2022. And anyhow, they asked me to do, first of all, with the Florida School Board Association, we're in the same belief. We want to keep it nonpartisan. It won unanimously throughout the whole state with the Florida School Board Association. With our school board, also, all of us wanted to keep it nonpartisan. And I was asked to speak for the state on Spectrum News. If you want to Google it, just type in nonpartisan school board race, Abby Sanchez, Spectrum News. I did a story with Senator Gruder and talking about not bringing politics into the classroom and how important it was that, you know, we don't label our children. We don't put a D and R or an I next to a student. And we clearly don't do it to adults. We shouldn't be. But this toxic world has created an issue with that. This is something the governor and legislators wanted to put a label on everybody, and it's not acceptable. And so we are 100% behind keeping this nonpartisan, and as well as the whole state Florida School Board Association. So we are also pushing people to make sure that they vote to keep this nonpartisan and make sure that you don't forget that it's on the general ballot in November, along with so many other amendments and issues, and extremely important. So thank you for bringing that up. Now, do you have anything else to add to that one or anything? I know it looks like there's quite a bit in the chat box, and I don't know, it's 7:49 if we want to look at that first.
Karen, did you see
Abby,
any?
it's just me repeating what some of the things that you've said, you know, giving them the News 13. Holly DeLucia does have a comment, though, that she says she can guarantee at least one book that you loved as a child is on the list. And she said The Hungry Caterpillar. Eric Carr.
And I know that book by heart, and there's nothing wrong with that book. Sadly, wow. So
Okay,
I think
I'm going to flip forward to one that I just got today. This is the links are all on here if you want to screenshot this one. But this came in today from the Florida League of Women Voters, and they had gotten it from another organization that the Florida Healthy Youth Alliance is partnering with Educate US to host Passion to Power on the 16th, 17th, and 18th from 7 to 8 in the evenings on Zoom. It's a 3-part series on how to speak with confidence when advocating for change at school boards and public meetings. And because we believe in working with other groups, and we don't have to invent everything as PTA, but we need to make opportunities available.
Where's your adult?
I'm sorry, missed.
And something else that we've been working on, and it's something that, I think a lot of PTAs or not just school boards are having issues with is, we have these Zoom calls or we have, parenting night and the same parents show up, not the ones that we really need to be there. The ones that are there really already know what they need to be doing or are able to do a lot of different things. But so we are going to be starting a bus to go into neighborhoods. Something I had asked a few years back, and I have had some backing from some other school board members that are also very interested in doing this and working together on collaborating with the health department, training on Skyward, making sure our counselors are on there, our tutors, and the bus will go into the neighborhoods and help train our parents on maybe some parenting 101 skills or some, making sure that they got their shots, or if they need to fill out forms for families in financial need, any of those things. And it's extremely important that we're collaborating with everybody on all these different things. So I highly suggest that you reach out to your uh, area and see if you guys can collaborate and do that too, because I think it's going to help a lot with bringing a bus into a neighborhood with all resources readily available for them right there. So now I know that it's 7:52 and we don't even have time to cover all the other topics. There's a couple more in there, but you guys can always go ahead and send an email to me or since I'm on this call, or Katie will forward my information to you. I'll put in my cell number too, just so in case you have that. In our county, we run countywide. So even though I represent District 3, we end up having to run our whole entire county. So from my side of town all the way to the other side of town, it's an elected position but voted in by the entire county. That's how ours works, and everybody's is different. And other than that, now I guess, Katie, do you want to open it up for questions?
If I can keep my dog quiet. She has decided she wanted to join this conversation. So if anybody has any questions, you could come off of mute and ask, and we'll see what we can do.
Hey, Katie, why don't you guys take like one quick minute to explain the way the agenda works for the school board meeting? Because all of the information about what actually happens in the meeting legally is in that agenda, and a lot of people don't know.
Great idea, Polly. Katie, you want to discuss that about the agenda and how you can find and locate it and how you can see what's on it and what non-agenda to agenda items?
Okay, so I don't know how other counties do it, but in Seminole County, our agenda is posted ahead of time, and it has all the items on there. Ours is all online now, and so it runs sometimes 700 pages. It takes quite a bit of time to read through it and digest, but you can pull up, from the quick agenda what it is you want to look at and go look it up. And then any modifications are notified in a different color so you can see it. Because they've had a chance to have a workshop the day ahead of time, or that same day, earlier in the day, they've had a workshop where they can talk freely in a public setting, because school board members are under the government in the sunshine law, and they are not allowed to talk to each other about anything other than family, friends, and food. So they can talk about, they can only talk about items that might possibly or are coming up before the school board with each other in an open published meeting, or open and announced meeting, as well as other committees that are sanctioned by the school board. So I'm on the foundation, and the same thing there. We're not supposed to talk about anything that might come up ahead of time. But so that's all there. They have a chance to talk about it at the workshop. Then when we come to the meetings, our meetings always start with a meditation and a pledge. It's usually done, the pledge is usually done by a student. And then we have recognitions, which are really important. The chance to recognize the people in our community. Ours has a veteran recognized at each meeting, a school board employee who's a veteran. And then any new appointees at the administrative level in the school board. And then we, any special things that students have gotten awards for or recognitions for, the ball teams that have won their state level, and the kids that have gone on to the academic competitions, probably will have our reflections. We've got a couple national, or 7 that went to national, and we'll probably have a recognition for them at some point. And then they go to the agenda, and it's a consent agenda, which has made the meeting so much smoother. So all the school board members have the opportunity to pull an item off of the school board or off of the agenda to be considered separately and discussed. Otherwise, the assumption is made that they have contacted the people they need to understand what's going on, and they've made their decision on what they're going to do. And they do a consent agenda agreement, and it's passed, where we're not doing each item by item at the meeting. So when people go in there, they go, wait a minute, they didn't talk about any of this. Well, they didn't talk about it because they've had that time to think about it. There is a moment before they vote where there is time that people can, if they filled out in the form and when they come into the meeting, they can speak to an agenda item. And they have, in our county, they have 3 minutes to speak to that agenda item. And then the school board makes their consent agreement, either their consent agenda, either agree or not agree to that. And then they go on to, I think I just got it out of order. We always have a presentation from one of the departments on something important that people need to know about on how things are going. And then when we get to the end, there's the reports from all the school board members of what they've been doing, the different committees that they've been a part of, what they've represented the school board in. I talked to when I was on the legislative committee, I talked to the education committee about the fact that in Seminole County, the school board is not a part-time position. They are out there day and night at everything that goes on in the county, sometimes hitting 5, 6, 7 things a day to make sure that they're representing us and getting a chance to really see what's happening. And then at the end, we have time where our members or our people who've attended can comment on what's going on. It's a non-agenda item comment, and they have 2 minutes to comment on that, on any item that they want to the school board, not to the audience, not to the people online, but to the school board members. Did I cover it, Abby?
Exactly. Yes,
I've been at a
you
few of
did
them,
great with
haven't I?
that. She's at every board meeting. And I think I've been going to board meetings for 20 years on top of, 35 years in education. But we have changed the format a little bit, but what Katie said is exactly what we basically do. Sadly, we are not really able to make comments because then that just creates an environment that could be hostile, and we'd rather be able to have that conversation with that person or that group individually. But if they do go over their time, our attorney monitors the minutes, and she says, okay, your time is up, but and our clerk will say, if you would like to, give me your letter that you wrote or your email, please share it with me, and we'll give it to them, email it to them. And some actually, when they're presenting and speaking, they'll actually hand us a PowerPoint. They'll give it straight to the clerk, and she'll pass it out to each of us. So we have it in our hands and we're ready to go with it. And it's really nice to have that. So you're looking at that too at the same time. Because when you're listening to so many people talking and you're taking notes, it's really nice when somebody gives you a hard copy of something and then you can write down the notes to go along with it. And I think looking at the questions about well, proclamations, and right now we're not doing proclamations. I know every county does it differently. I'm looking into more of taking that proclamation, making it into the policies and procedures, making sure that it flows. For example, Orange County reached out to me the other day and said, what do you all do for your teachers keeping grades in their grade book for Skyward? And I said, they asked me if I had a policy or procedure in it. We have so many different policies and procedures. And I actually said, you know what? Let me find out, because I didn't know. And actually, there were like 4 of us that didn't know. We found it in the handbook on page 61, and it's in our procedures for a teacher handbook that says they must enter grades every 2 weeks. So, because they were going to make a policy saying that they had to have their grades in every week, but then they decided, okay, we're just going to stay with what you're doing. So it's really nice when we communicate with each other and share each other's ideas, so we don't have to recreate the wheel. Yet every county thinks of things differently. I had no idea that The Hungry Caterpillar was actually a book that was on that list, or that Brown Bear, I think somebody wrote in there too. Any other questions that anybody else can think of? Because I know it's 8:02 and I know a lot of you have things to do, and we don't want to keep you too long. And you can always feel free to email me too, or call me. On our website, we have all of our school email addresses as well, and you can send anything to any of us, as well as anything related to scholarship for PTA. If you're planning on going to the state PTA convention this summer.
Thank you very much,
gonna be a lot of
both of
fun.
you. We applaud you for taking your time out and preparing for this meeting. On behalf of our president, who had to leave and go to another meeting, please look in the chat where you can register for that Florida PTA convention, which is July 17th to the 21st. The early bird registration ends on June 1st, and you have to be a delegate by then, declared by your school. On Friday, there will be a luncheon. That luncheon is the awards luncheon. So get in your award nominations for the Florida PTA Awards. They are due May 1st. And on Saturday is the DEIJ, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice luncheon. And then our big thing at the end of the night on Saturday night is the big party that benefits our scholarship fund. And this year it's Carnival. So every county has chosen or is in the process of choosing a theme, and they're decorating their tables, and it's going to be a big party where we have DJs and dancing and just a lot of fun.
And last year's was awesome with Abby in charge, and we're looking for super things this year too.
Yes.
So last year was Derby theme, and so we had derbies. But this year, everybody's getting to pick their own island, and then that way they can do the decorating of their table. And we will still, and because the setting up of all the tables with all the derby stuff was challenging, to say the least.
Yeah.
But we really, that party didn't end. People wanted to stay. That's how much fun it was.
Yes.
And I'm thinking it's going to even be better. So they had
Definitely.
a blast, and start creating your baskets so we can raise lots of money. We had some amazing baskets, and there's going to be special awards for people that have, if you're going to the convention, for your county, if your county participates and brings in so many baskets for the auction. You'll be able to visit our auction room and see all the great auction items in there, and then bid on so many great baskets.
Absolutely. So Maggie asked, baskets? What does that mean? You do not need to sign up for it, Maggie. You can create a basket that is going to then be, I don't want to say auctions off. You buy raffle tickets. All the money goes towards the PTA scholarships. And there's like, I don't know, y'all can probably tell us last year, 100 baskets to slip your raffles in.
Got 125 baskets, I want to say we had Is Polly still on? She might remember. We had
No, it
quite a
was
few. I
like
made,
160 or 180. I don't know.
yeah,
We
it
got
went
over
up because,
150.
yeah, there was a lot. I mean, I made quite a few my own myself because I love to make baskets, but you
So
can
I
buy
know we're
baskets
talking
at
about,
Goodwill.
thank you, party and eating, but really the purpose of our convention is leadership.
That's
To
right.
grow as leaders, to collaborate with other people at the convention, go to many workshops. There are vendors and exhibitors there to give you resource ideas for sales and or programming. And finally, it is also the business of the organization. There will be a recommended bylaws change. I believe there's a resolution. Yes, Katie? And also our elections for our 24-26 executive committee. So we will have to end now at the time, but we want to thank them and applaud everyone again for being here. I'm putting one last thing in the chat, and that is where you go to see this recording or any other recording that we've done on these Wednesdays, Roads to Success. So thank you so much. Melanie Williams has reminded us that the statewide reflection ceremony is May 4th at noon at Lake Nona High School in Orlando. Invitations went out to those students who qualified just this week. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. That might be our next gathering if you're going. Anyone is welcome. Come and celebrate with us. Everyone have
This
a
has
good
been
night.
awesome. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
Great job. Thanks.
Hey, Katie. Good to
Good
see you.
job. Always good information. See ya.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you, Katie, for everything you do. You're amazing. We love you.
Oh, and you,
I
I'm
think
so
there's just
proud of you. Get some sleep tonight, honey.
thank
Yeah,
you. I feel
that's right.
when
That's what
I'm sorry I
matters.
didn't get into the proclamation one too. I know
That's
that you,
okay. Yeah, we needed to.
I think that one was going to take too long to try to explain the process of it with the
Yeah,
proclamations because everybody's doing it differently right now. And I'm like, I was looking
yeah.
at the clock and thinking, there's just no way.
That's why I
fine.
skipped you ahead. We were on the same page there.
Yeah, same with
Yes,
funding.
perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
forget it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Karen, because oh my gosh, that was the one I really wanted to talk about. Oh my gosh, we need to do another one
Funding? Oh,
because I want people to understand
well,
what's going on. And we're number 48 out of 50 in the nation in salaries and what happened with House Bill 13. Man, I'm
Yeah.
bummed.
I know. That was
Yeah.
I could do a whole segment on that. I could do hours of
just
that one.
funding alone. Let's plan
Karen,
that for the future.
I'm not seeing where to find this. You said that was going to
mean?
be in the chat and I don't see it.
What?
What
You
was
said
going
it
to
was
be in
going
the
to be in
chat?
the chat where to find this online later.
Well, I wonder if it went to Maggie. Let me redo it and put it. Well, we're not
I
recording
saw it
anymore.
somewhere. I don't know what Polly meant by Google it, Abby. I don't know. It was,
About you're like, I can't believe about the hungry caterpillar. And
Oh,
you
Oh,
said that.
okay.
You said Google it.
I was shocked.
Yeah. Karen, thank you
Crazy.
for the work you did on
Yes,
putting
this is
that
awesome.
that PowerPoint
Problem.
together for us.
Yes, thank you so
No
much. And I
problemo.
am so sorry I didn't get onto a couple of the other topics. I mean, but this could have, there's so many great topics and so many things that are going on that are extremely important for everybody to know. So